a ghost-like fairy of Irish folklore. Its sighting is an omen of death. It rides a coach called the Coach of Bower, pulled by headless horses, and stops in front of those destined to die soon. The Dullahan is headless itself, usually carrying its head under one arm. Though it is often portrayed as a headless knight, it is female in the original legend.
Hello Internet, I'm HamsterBomb.
And I'm Timothy.
And this is Demonica, your Shin Megami Tensei Demon Compendium, where we look at the real-life lore that influenced the designs behind the series' demons. Kim, tonight, the moon is so gone. It is a new moon, and it is below the horizon. I don't know if this means we have a higher chance of failure, because in some games that's kind of how it works, and others it means you're downright guaranteed to get what you wanted. So anyway, the moon is definitely not shining brightly.
Well, you know, I've never even memorized what each does. Wait, new moon's good? Full moon's bad?
It changes based on which game you're playing.
Yeah, I don't know. I've only really played 3, so...
It's a big deal in that one. In SMT3, it can change what's inside your treasure chests when you open them up. It's a big deal. Anyway, what religious, mythological, historical, fictional, cryptozoological character or concept will we be summoning tonight?
We're summoning the Dullahan.
The Dula what? That wasn't in Persona.
What?
Click off of this episode. What are you That wasn't in Persona. Now we'll get into it. Now the Dullahan, I promise, it was actually a thing in several Shin Megami Tensei games.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem like it though, huh? It seems
no,
like you don't see it anymore.
It's in a lot of weird ones, but we'll get into that in a bit. But first up, we have some housekeeping. Kim said a lot of stuff wrong in the last episode, and she doesn't care.
I'm sorry. I've moved on with my life. It's not you, it's me.
Well, anyway, we're going to try and do better with pronunciation stuff. For example, in the introduction of this episode, if I didn't look anything up because Irish is really hard to read, I probably would have said that the coach that the Dullahan rides on is called the Quaist Bodhar, but it is apparently pronounced the Coach of Bower. I mean, any of the Irish stuff, you look at it and boy, like, they just put letters in there.
You know,
and like,
honestly, I think we got away pretty scot-free with this one versus doing, like, Koopjalane or something.
Koopjalane, that whole story. Yeah, just reading a lot. Yeah, this one, we're probably not going to hit up a lot of Irish words, but still, for the most part, when we hit things like that and we know we are probably going to say them wrong, we're going to try our best to look them all up, but Kim got overloaded with a lot of them last time. So that's it. We're sorry, but we're also not going to give you a list of pronunciations for stuff that's not relevant to this episode.
You can be mad.
That's fine.
Your feelings are valid.
Now, with that out of the way, what do we first think of when we hear the name Dullahan?
Oh, I was just going to say Durrara.
Okay, you can go first, sure. Yeah, Durrara.
I mean, that was my first experience with the Dullahan with Celty Sturluson, but...
the anime/manga.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those cases where the anime was made first and then the manga came afterwards situation again.
Well, sure, but I just want to make sure we're clear so we're not, sounding like we have mental problems when we're like, oh yeah, I love Durrara.
Okay, so you can pronounce the Japanese, which is just Durrara or Dur. It's a very silly title, thanks Japan.
Yeah, it's a very silly title for a very serious show.
Shows,
yeah, it's a really well done show.
Yeah, so in that show, the Headless Horseman, or Dullahan in this case, is a woman, and
her name is Celty.
Her name is Celty, and her head was taken away, so...
She rides on a ghastly motorcycle, and it's awesome.
Right, but it's her horse turned itself into a motorcycle
right.
to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So...
She also is searching for her head in the series, and she instead wears a helmet to make it look like she has a head, so when in public she's not, seen as a headless horseman or headless rider.
Right.
When she takes it off, there's just this steamy black goo that's coming out of her neck. Yeah, so she's trying to hunt down where her head is, and it's a pretty huge plot point throughout the show. So if you've seen that, you probably already know what a Dullahan is, even though that's just the modern pop culture interpretation.
Right, but it still gave a pretty good interpretation of it, I feel like. But that was like my first experience with it, and that was like 2000... 13?
2000 fart noises.
Yeah, I don't remember when I watched
somewhere
it
around
first.
then.
But a lot later than I feel like our other episodes, except for like Baphomet. Baphomet I didn't even know was a thing, I think, until I saw it in Persona. So
I think the first season of Dur is way better than the rest of the show. I've seen the whole thing, but something about the original pacing and the storytelling of jumping between main characters is really cool in the beginning. But
highly recommended if you're a fan of anime.
And Dullahans.
And Dullahans. Are you going to talk about what?
So for this, I feel like I might be cheating for mine because my first thought of a Dullahan isn't something where someone pointed at a thing and said, that is a Dullahan. It's more of the idea of what it is. So I know you're going to grill me for being wrong, but this is technically what I think of when someone talks about a Dullahan. So I have a vivid memory from when I was young of a local park having a Halloween event where a headless horseman rode around on a real horse. The atmosphere was really creepy because this was at night, and at this park it was what it was called as a heritage village. So it was a collection of buildings like houses, a school, stores, and a government building, which are all nearly 200 years old. Okay, so...
But we're going to be talking about Ireland, so that's not even old.
No, right, you're right. Right, but that's still, like, for this area, 200-year-old houses, and I was a kid going around this dark village, you know, something 200-year-old, like, they don't really have a lot of lights. You know, it was dark. And they decorated the entire place with old-style, authentic Halloween decorations, and each house had different events inside for Halloween. But the best part was all the while you could be wandering the streets when you would hear the clop, clop, clopping of a horse and then turn to see that its rider was headless and galloping through the darkness. It was amazing and freaked a little me out quite a lot, even though I still loved it all at the same time.
Oh, I absolutely love that headless horseman. In fact, I got to meet him a few times. Eventually, when I was older and in high school, I got to work alongside him and actually work that event at that heritage village. And I love it. I am absolutely just in love with the vibe of that place. So.
I probably was there, and Kim and I didn't know each other at the time. I was probably there at the same time that she was at one of these events. I only got to go once, but it sounds like Kim got to go a lot more than me. So I was going as just a visitor. I didn't have, you know, the wool taken over my eyes to see this guy, you know, get off the thing. I just was, you know, hearing the clop, clop, clop in the darkness and thinking, like, what is that? And, you know, some giant, of course, because, you know, you have to cover the shoulders up with a fake missing head. You know, this guy's running through on a horse without a head on. It was creepy. You know, because it had, like, no connection to anything else, you know, because in a Halloween event, you would go from basically station to station, house to house, and you would expect that, okay, these are your curated little scare places. But this was just an organic thing happening, and it was by far the most memorable thing. I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in any of those houses other than, like, ghost stories and
well, see,
things like that.
I feel like I can because I've worked most of that.
Sure, but just from my perspective of going the one time, maybe a Dullahan. Am I allowed to call that a Dullahan?
You know, what we're about to learn is, you probably can.
Okay.
I feel like we could just ramble on and on about that heritage village because it just, even if you're not there during the Halloween time, because it's such old buildings, it just gives you real creepy, off-putting vibe, you know?
If you want to look it up, it is in Sharon Woods in Cincinnati, Ohio's area.
Sharonville.
Sharonville in the Cincinnati, Ohio area.
Suburb.
But yeah, a lot of the houses there are like, man, you don't even have to go back. I don't think 200 years is very far back, but you try and step inside some of these houses, their stairs are, wow, they're not up to code.
You're going up a ladder.
Nothing is up to code. Like, we have code because of these houses. And they are scary. And they left a lot of, like, original stuff inside of them, too. And, it's so eerie being in them in broad daylight with a tour guide. It's scary.
I love it. I love the vibe of, like, abandoned places. And even though these are frequently operated by people, it's still somewhat unsettling.
Yeah, and a lot of the places, they uproot the house and literally drive it to this
Correct,
place, and then they
yes.
replant it and reposition it.
And I could get into the whole paranormal side of that, but I don't think we need to jump into that today. I think the creepiest thing I ever worked there, it was all the way in the back. So you walk all the way past the houses. They had like a haunted trail. And I think they had somebody walking around like on that trail. But it was just like some tiki torches at the beginning of it. And I would just stand there and monitor as people would walk in. And I'm like right across from the schoolhouse, which didn't have any events going on. So there was nobody in there. It was just this creepy abandoned
dark
building.
jet black.
In the jet black, in the very back of this whole village. It was probably the creepiest place where I've ever had to just stand. And I think right in front of me is like the doctors and surgeons building was like right next to that. So
that was a creepy building too. You step right in and there it is. It's like operating table and medical equipment.
Yeah, there's no waiting room or anything. You're just there.
Yeah, scary. So let's first talk about the Dullahan as it appears in SMT. I'm very eager to hear about the lore and everything, but we're just trying to do this in order, in the same order we've done all of these.
I'm a little disappointed with the lore, so that's why I'm allowing you to call the Headless Horseman a Dullahan.
Okay. Well, Headless Horseman is a much more popular thing, and we don't have in SMT headless rider. You know, we have the 4 horsemen, and that would be really weird and confusing if we had another headless rider.
I mean, Hellbiker could probably take off his head.
Hellbiker is supposed to be the Hell Rider from Marvel.
Yes, from Marvel.
So that's...
But you could take off his head, and then he could be headless.
You could take anybody's head off, and they could be... What does that mean?
I don't know.
Has horse / is horse? What about Bicorn? You cut off Bicorn's head. Is Bicorn a Dullahan?
Possibly.
Maybe.
Okay, we're gonna get into this lore and how it makes no sense. So.
All right. So you might first suspect that the Dullahan is a demon that rarely appears in the series, as we mentioned before, but as a matter of fact, it has been around since the original Famicom games. Most notably, it is a demon found in Shin Megami Tensei 4 with an interesting mini-boss questline. You may also be surprised to hear that this headless horseman, or horsewoman, is a fairy. Speaking of, Kim, it is time for your pop quiz question.
I'm probably gonna get it wrong. Here we go.
I don't know. Dullahan is Demonica's first Fey demon. Can you tell which of these other demons is not a Fey?
Oh, okay. I could probably do this.
A. Vivian. B. Silky. C. Oberon. B. Brigid.
Vivian, the first one?
No. So Vivian is a lesser known one. That is actually from Arthurian folklore. That is the Lady of the Lake. She is a Fae.
Yeah, that's a Fae.
Yeah. And Silky and Oberon are in quite a lot of other games. Those were the easier ones to isolate as Fae. They're in the fairy villages of a lot of the games. But Brigid was the odd one out. She is an Irish goddess, daughter of Dagda and wife of a Fomorian, but not a Fae. And we got our first incorrect. Was that the first time we got it incorrect?
I don't know.
That itself is probably incorrect.
If you're playing along at home.
Well, congratulations if you got it at home. Vivian is also a demon you can find in Shin Megami Tensei 4, and that's an interesting one.
Looks like.
She looks like a fairy lady of the lake. I mean, I could show you later.
Is she naked?
I don't think she's wearing anything. I don't remember.
I feel like she shouldn't wear anything.
I don't know. In Witcher 1, you have sex with her.
Yeah, because you gotta collect them all.
Yeah, he has sex cards of every woman that he sleeps with in that game. But anyway, the Lady of the Lake is one of them.
We're talking about SMT.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Where you do not sleep with her, I promise. Though the game is rated M. It's hard to say anything concrete about Dullahan mechanically, as its inclusions have been all over the place. I have seen its level range from as low as 10 to as high as 67. Sometimes it has perfectly balanced stats, when other times it can have radically differing stats with 20-point differences in its own stats in some games.
It sounds like they're just using this as, we need another demon to help balance this. Let's throw in Dullahan.
Yeah, they haven't used it consistently enough to establish what on earth they want to do with it.
It's not like, Pyrojack or something.
Well, yeah, well, also...
That's gonna show up.
Well, sure, and the lore tells you Pyrojack is going to use fire, right? What on earth are you supposed to do with a Dullahan? Well, I'll get into it. What is consistent with Dullahan is instant death spells. Almost in every iteration, Dullahan can be expected to cast skills like Mudo and Mudun. However, I said almost. In some games, they use Force or Fire instead. In SMT4, it also uses Blight, a physical poison-inflicting strike, and Luster Candy, buffing the whole party's 3 stats by 1 level.
I just want to give my thumb of approval for having instant kill.
Instant kill.
Instant kill. And I think Force is good too. Force is pretty accurate, yeah.
Okay. Because what's nice is some of the games, they don't call dark. They'll call it curse, or they'll call it death. I think in Persona it is curse. So it seems to change a lot. Even in Persona, Force is wind. That one really bothers me.
Yeah, that's Force is wind. So the thing with the fire, I feel like you could almost make an exception for the fire if they're mixing up the lore from, like, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, does it have, like, a jack-o'-lantern on its head?
It's a jack-o'-lantern. So.
Oh, yeah, okay. So I could see that, but this was one instance where it was using Force and fire, and it didn't do anything weird with the Mudos at all. So, weird. I think it was a Demi-Kids game that did this, so it technically happened, but it wasn't
also,
a huge iteration.
Adorable in that game.
It is adorable, and we're going to get into that. Upon level up in SMT4, it gains Awakening, which is a skill that increases all stats by 5, and Bloody Glee, innately increasing critical hit chances. So it gets pretty strong. Keep in mind that this was also the one instance when it was obtainable at level 67.
Why is that? I feel like you would get to that point in that game and you'd be like, why? Why did I work so hard for this level 10 demon?
Level 10? What do you... Oh, no,
well,
it's 60.
I'm saying, like, if it's a level lower in other games and you've played other games and then you go and play this game and you're like, why am I working so hard for this?
Granted, if you have played all the games where Dullahan has appeared and you played Shin Megami Tensei 4, you're probably more excited that you're seeing Dullahan again after so long and not remembering, oh, yes! It also doesn't look like it used to at all. The elemental weaknesses are also completely nonsensical. In Megami Tensei, it drains electricity, but in Shin Megami Tensei 4, it is weak to it. The only thing that generally is consistent is that it blocks dark.
Okay, I guess that makes the most sense.
You said before, it's like they're just choosing stuff for balancing. This seems to be the balancing demon. They don't know what on earth they're doing. As for Dullahan's alignment, it has appeared as both neutral and chaos. I'm going with Shin Megami Tensei 4's alignment as the most canon, being neutral, as this makes the most sense to me and my lacking knowledge of Dullahan lore at this particular moment.
You know, this is the first one I think definitely is more chaos aligned, if anything. Mm-hmm.
And then once again, this could also be a balancing thing. You know, sometimes you just have too many chaos demons, too many neutral.
It kind of seems like this demon's almost a second thought most of the time.
Yeah, it was just unfortunate.
I don't know how they work with when they're designing their games and deciding who goes where. I don't know if they're like, first they look at their balancing and then they decide which demons they need. Or if they say, I want this aesthetic for this game, so I want to have A, B, and C demons, and then go from there to make it balanced.
Well, to design a game like Shin Megami Tensei 1 on the Super Famicom, where your alignment will literally lock you out of being able to summon certain demons, so say you're law aligned, you are not summoning Beelzebub. That's just not going to happen. You need to make sure that your alignment actually matches the demon. Now, if you're neutral, you can summon anything, which is why it's so important to try and stay neutral and survive in that game. So I can see in that one, they would start and say, we need X amount of law, X amount of neutral, X amount of chaos, and then they would probably start pulling from mythology and figure out who goes where level-wise, and then as they start filling out all the gaps, realize, okay, Dullahan's going to be really low level this time because, well, that's where the gap is at the moment.
And it's not crucial or critical to the story.
Yeah, it's not particularly powerful or scary. It's just more spooky.
Spooky's great!
Dullahan actually gets an interesting story integration in a side quest in Shin Megami Tensei 4, as I mentioned before, but I want to tell you because it's great. During the main story, a mafia-style group of humans and demons called the Ashurakai are kidnapping people in order to harvest their brains like livestock in order to create the new product called Red Pills.
I don't know what to say about that. That sounds disturbing.
You should play Shin Megami Tensei 4. It is disturbing.
I want to play Shin Megami Tensei
5's
4.
not disturbing enough. Red Pills, shorthanded as Reds, are so tasty to demons, apparently, that they taste better than humans. And demons can be persuaded to serve humans in exchange for an allowance of Reds. But to humans, if a red pill gets ingested, they'll either turn into a demon or a mangled gelatinous corpse pile monster.
So are like these red pills are like the concentrate human? If I want to have the human, I want to have a red pill. It's like eating 100 humans.
I'm not sure what it is that they're siphoning out of people's brains. It's not just like brain sludge just packed into a little pill.
That's what I'm imagining.
Well, I mean, if you were literally trying to create it in the same way that they tell us in the game, sure. But there's also mystical stuff. There's Magatsuhi and all sorts. It could be where your Magatsuhi's concentrated or something like that.
Maybe. So it's like concentrated. It's like taking a caffeine pill or something.
Basically, yeah. And it's something that if you give that to a human, somehow is overloading them and like spiritually surging them and transforming them into something else.
Your third eye too far.
Yeah. Way too far. So this practice is evil, but it is keeping Tokyo from being completely destroyed overnight. Because if you can imagine, this Tokyo in Shin Megami Tensei 4 has been surviving with demons alongside them for a long time.
And they're like bargaining essentially with
them. They're like paying them off with these red pills, but the red pills are coming from basically like homeless people who were kidnapped and taken to this facility where humans and demons running like the mafia. So it's not a good situation, but that's kind of what's going on down in Tokyo. Anyway, in this challenge quest called Corpse Disposal, you are tasked with eliminating several corpses, which is the name of that human monstrosity demon, when a sudden upsurge of them starts appearing around Tokyo. It turns out that a single hunter, angry with the system, was intentionally giving reds to humans in order to fight back against the Ashurakai in their own rebellious way. Needless to say, they get furious with you for killing their own inhuman livestock and challenge Flynn and his group. Realizing all is lost if she doesn't, the hunter consumes a red pill herself and becomes the demon Dullahan. I don't know how that actually connects to the actual story of a Dullahan. It seems like Baphomet from SMT2, where they're just like, all right, here's a cool story that's going to tie into everything, but, it's got to turn into a demon. I don't know. It flips through files, paperwork. We haven't used this one in a while. Here, Dullahan. After defeating the Dullahan, you unlock them for fusion, which is how you get that level 67 beast. Yeah, it's kind of creepy and gross. At least this person turned into a Dullahan and not a corpse. It looks
like, because I've only seen the Devil Children one, and then like the main
SMT4.
art.
The main art is SMT4.
Oh, okay.
That would be the most modern thing that you would have seen. There is no other key art for this at all. I'm going to be talking about sprites mostly. So if we want to move on to design, in the original Megami Tensei, Dullahan looks like a simple headless purple knight holding a halberd and what appears to be its head held like a shield in the front with the other hand. The sequel, Megami Tensei 2, changes things up slightly. Now it holds an axe, and its head/shield is now clearly a shield and a face at the same time. This design they would carry onward until the Sega CD version of Shin Megami Tensei 1, where we now see a traditional caped knight in silver, white, and blue holding a longsword in its own head wrapped in a cloth at its side. The head shield idea was cool, but I think I like this a lot more. Ignoring the side stuff for now, next we see Dullahan is in Shin Megami Tensei 4, where it now looks like a regal, silver and gold-plated female knight still holding a sharp longsword and its head to one side. Though, now without the drapery, the neck now becomes a ball joint as if the Dullahan were some sort of broken figurine. This strongly implies the head is supposed to be attached there, but isn't. This and the new elegant design work on the armor makes this my personal favorite Dullahan design. If we see Dullahan return in 3D someday, it will likely be with this one. Now for the weird stuff. In Last Bible, the Dullahan is a male knight armed with a sword and shield, with his head still attached. Don't know what's up with that.
What?
In Last Bible 3, the head comes off, but now the seated knight is holding it up on a spear as if it's about to roast it over a campfire. Don't know what's up with that either. Majin Tensei gives us some better art for the old Megami Tensei 2 design, making the face shield apparent. But in Majin Tensei 2, the head and shield are just gone altogether, and the sword becomes a spear.
They don't know what a Dullahan is.
No, they don't. That's why I'm saving
Or like the tropes, at least,
yeah,
I should say.
Saved the weird stuff for last, I swear. Finally, in Devil Children, Dullahan is an adorable little girl dressed for chilly fall weather in a red coat and yellow scarf, holding her head to one arm and dragging a headless teddy bear in the other.
She looks like she's 6.
Even the teddy bear has a cute sewn-up yellow patch stopping its neck stuffing from coming out, matching the Dullahan herself.
It's so cute.
It is really cute.
Why did they make it cute?
Everything in that game is cute.
I know.
we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will dive into the lore of Dullahan. And we're back with more Demonica. Now, before we get any further, I need to mention that in the middle of that segment before, I realized that I forgot to switch one little thing over on my microphone, and it made Kim sound really muffly that whole time. I'm going to spend a lot of time in post fixing the audio, so I hope that first segment wasn't so unbearable to listen to. Audio problems drive me crazy, so for any of you who are like me, I am so sorry. One little mistake, I swear, and I feel like I ruined the whole episode. I wish that it was my side that was more muffled, even though that was my segment. You know, I'm the one talking more.
Right,
but
it's fine.
I'm the loudmouth.
It's fine if I sound like I'm in the other room because I'm just listening to the story.
Yeah, I'm sure it's what it sounded like. You're just like, that sounds interesting.
You could have said, oh, well, Kim's sitting on the toilet now.
Her head was missing, actually. It was very fitting. Never mind, I didn't realize this was the episode for Kim's head to be missing. Should I switch it off?
No! No, this is my segment now. I must be heard.
Yes, now I want to hear this, because now it is time to ask the question, Kim, who or what is the Dullahan?
All right, so we've had the SMT description of the Dullahan, so I am probably going to reiterate a lot again about what that said. Dullahan is a fae, possibly remnants of an old Celtic god. We'll get into that.
Oh, okay.
From Irish folklore. A Dullahan is a harbinger of death. He will come to your door, and the head he is holding speaks a name. Once that name is spoken, that person dies. If you happen to see him out on a nightly ride, he will blind you with his whip.
Okay.
So what he does, from what I'm reading, is he hits you across the eyes with his whip. So that's why I liked the force aspect of the SMT one.
Oh, because the whip?
Yes.
Yikes.
So what makes a Dullahan so distinctive? And I'm going to go ahead and say Dullahans in most cases is a species and not really a single demon.
Well, to me, a demon is more of a species and not like a named thing. But I guess that makes a lot more sense in terms of, like, you know, real world. You know, you look at grimoires and stuff, and demons are named characters and creatures instead of, like a gorgons or something like that.
And I find that true with most of the fae. Unless it's a specifically named fae, it's usually like a race of that fae.
Right, like a pixie in SMTs, a super common demon that anybody would know who's played these games.
Right.
Would pixie still just be a fae of like a generic line?
Right, so they would be getting along with other pixies.
Right.
So fae can be a little bit discriminatory in that they're not really going to cross lines too much and hang out with other fae.
Well, that's weird because that's like the only clan who in a good amount of Shin Megami Tensei games, almost all of them, there is a fairy village somewhere, and all the fae get along.
And it had something, this is going off the top of my head, I did not research this, but I hear it had something to do with what those fae are wearing and what colors they're wearing. Determine which clans they're part of. So I believe that's correct. Don't quote me on that. I did not research that. I just have this knowledge.
It's all about how well dressed you are. Is that why Oberon and Titania are the king and queen?
I'm pretty sure.
Because they're the best dressed.
It could be they're just taller than everybody else.
Well, yeah.
Dullahan have been described as male and female.
Well, that confuses me.
It also has another name of Firdorka, meaning dark man, specifically man.
Yeah, let's be careful here.
Or Kulingankan.
Yeah, right.
I apologize. I could not find a video of anybody saying that name, and that was my best I could do.
Oh, so that's the English version of that Irish name.
Kulingankan.
Okay.
And it means headless coach. More than likely, I think it's intended to be male for the Dullahans. So I'm going to refer to the Dullahan as male, even though I know SMTs is female, and I know there are...
In the one instance it is. The others, we don't really know.
There are other folklore legends of it being female. But we'll kind of get into why I think... Well, one of the reasons I think they might refer to it as a male because of the Firdorka, meaning dark man specifically.
Okay.
And it being like a masculine term.
This is already episode 4, but it would not be the first time that the introductory quote from SMT was wrong. Because it said they're female.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no.
Okay. All right.
Typically described as the headless rider, he wears black robes and rides a pitch black horse with glowing red eyes.
Oh,
And
Cerberus.
And sometimes the horse is described as headless as well.
Yeah, I remember hearing that.
Why not? But it's not every time.
I've seen art of it like that, where the horse is also missing its
This
headless.
is just like a hint of how, like, back and forth it can be. There's not like a specific, this is exactly what it's going to look
This
like
is a
every
definitive
single time.
oral tradition, where they're like, headless rider. Wait, which was headless? The horse or the man? The man was definitely headless. the horse, now I'm confused. Might have been headless. And then the next guy's like, the horse was definitely missing its head.
Exactly. And and I have seen a lot of descriptions of the horse having glowing red eyes. So I'm like, clearly it's not headless.
Clearly there
then.
has to be a head, yeah.
So,
Unless it's a Sleepy Hollow jack-o'-lantern horse head, which actually sounds kind of funny.
That sounds ridiculous. Also, I did look it up to see if the horse has a name, and it does not.
Oh, can I come up with one?
Sure, why not?
Okay, I like Doofus McGee.
Okay, Doofus McGee.
I'm not scared of him anymore.
That's okay, we're not talking about him anymore anyway.
All right, well, goodbye, McDoofus.
In one hand, the Dullahan carries a whip made from a human spine.
So not its own spine.
A human spine.
Where do you find that?
Well, it's a harbinger of death.
So? I'm a harbinger of cheese crackers.
hey.
And you know what? I've never gone for a walk and ever just stumbled across a human spine.
Well, we'll get into where it's coming from every night, and I think the spine might make more sense. But what really confuses me is, why does SMTs never have a whip?
Yeah,
at all.
I never mentioned a whip at all.
And that
this
is like
is the second time you said that. Didn't it also say it had a whip somewhere in the introduction?
I
thing?
believe so. I think it was in the description that it said it had a whip.
No, it's always got swords, spears. It had an axe at one point.
So it has the human spine in one hand and its severed head in the other hand.
So there's a spinal cord in here if you're using it as a whip. It's not just vertebrae.
Yeah.
And they're cracking that across your eyes?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Hey, it didn't kill you.
Oh, it might. That's bone.
No, it just blinds you. It specifically says it just blinds you.
So you don't wake up with two black eyes. You just
You're blind.
You just crack and your eyesight's gone. So does it steal your eyesight? Is it like the Little Mermaid?
I
where
don't know if it steals it.
I mean, it can't see.
I think it just destroys your eyeballs beyond recognition.
Well, clearly it can see if it has aimed that great with a whip.
So I think it's really important we start to get into the description of what the head looks like, because that's a really big part of the Headless Horseman.
Yeah, because like half
Dullahan.
of me thinks of Headless Horseman, which can run around either completely headless with a jack-o'-lantern next to it, or the jack-o'-lantern on its head, or I'm thinking where you've got a Dullahan looking for its missing head, then the head is not supposed to be there.
Right.
So I'm like, that's where I'm starting from. What's the truth?
Don't worry, you're going to be even more confused by the end of this.
Damn it.
There are a lot of descriptions of the severed head. It has been described as decayed, ashen, skeletal, moldy cheese.
Ew!
But it was only like that in like one specific text that ever said that, but people just kind of latched onto it because they're
What's
like...
the most specific one? All the other ones are generic. You're like, oh, well, it's, like a decapitated head, as you would expect. But moldy cheese implies you saw it and smelled it.
Yeah.
Ew.
So it always has a devilish grin across its face going from ear to ear. Its eyes have also been described as eerily glowing and rapidly moving from side to side looking for souls to claim.
Oh.
It can only speak once per visit to the world of the living, to say the name of an unfortunate person who then dies.
So the head does... Like, I guess I should have implied that earlier. When it comes to your door or whatever and says the name of somebody, the head does the talking?
Yeah. So
it's carrying the head.
It's carrying the head. It goes to your door. It says the name of a person in there, and that person just dies.
Okay, so it has to be a person. It can't be like your goldfish.
No. So, unlike the Grim Reaper, the Dullahan is responsible for causing the person's death.
Oh, so Well, I thought the Grim Reaper didn't... Well, the Grim Reaper just shows up after they die,
The Grim Reaper's
correct?
there to take you.
Yeah,
yes.
like you just died, Grim Reaper comes to take you. Dullahan shows up
To kill you.
to kill you.
So I thought that was a really important distinction, because I feel like some people are like, oh, the Dullahan's like the Grim Reaper. No.
Why don't we have a Grim Reaper? We have, like, you know, the Rider of
I don't know.
Death.
Do we have a Shiki? We
Is it
probably have
Black Rider
Shinigamis
or
or
Pale?
something, right?
Sure, we have some stuff
Kind of
that's...
similar.
We have some similar stuff, but... I don't know. That seems like a base Grim Reaper. You know, where'd that
because
go?
Japan doesn't really have that. They don't think of death
That's
in
a
that
good-
way.
that's a good
So
point, yeah.
I think that might be some of it. So another description, which is similar, but the Dullahan drives a coach made of bones and other nightmarish things, is accompanied by his same horse, sometimes multiple horses, and still has his whip and the severed head. So whip and severed head and horse are all three main things. Feel like you need to have a Dullahan.
We've never had a horse. Just
No, the old Sprite ones had horses.
No, they didn't.
I could have swore I remember looking at
No.
one and it was riding
What,
a horse.
I think actually one of them might have been riding a horse. Hold on, fact check. Nope, just double checked them all, and there is not a single horse to be found.
Wow, they really don't know what a Dullahan is, do they?
Nor is there a whip, and there's
Usually a severed head sometimes.
my favorite is the one that actually still had its head, like, on its shoulders in Last Bible. Like, in Last Bible 3, the one that looks like it's gonna take its head on a stick and start roasting it over a fire with marshmallows.
Right. So, up next, I might have a description of where the human spine comes from.
Oh, good!
So, it's said that the Dullahan will emerge from graveyards.
Like,
So,
out of the ground?
yeah, so it sounds like the graveyards are like, it's back and forth traveling between the realms, between the Fey world to the world of the living.
Like a Nightmare Before Christmas?
Yeah. Just imagine that.
It's just like Nightmare Before Christmas. All of a sudden, like, one of the coffins just, like, moves to the side. Actually, that's still really scary. I was trying
This is terrifying.
to cartoonify this idea, but no, this is still really scary.
So I think maybe that might be where it gets the human spine. Maybe it gets a new one every night. I don't know.
Well, if it's killing people, how often does it do this?
It's nightly, from what I've read.
So, this is not coming to foretell someone's death and then coming to execute them because their time is up. This seems to just be a malevolent force.
Right, which is why I think it should be under the chaos aligned, because it's
Yeah.
not doing it based on like some hierarchy or based on some job or set of rules that it has
It's
to do.
just killing random people.
Right.
Yikes. But at the same time, it doesn't seem to be doing it for a certain purpose. Yeah, so it's certainly not law. But since it's not doing it for any like particular purpose, it might be neutral, just kind of doing its thing. And that's the rules.
I don't know, but
knows its job.
that's kind of a chaotic thing to be doing.
Yeah, right. I know. We were kind of hung up on this with Cerberus because you're like, yeah, he's guarding Tartarus. But
Yeah.
at the same time, he's just doing his job. Yeah, so, I don't know.
Did you know apparently you can get away from a Dullahan?
But it comes to your house.
Well, sometimes you meet them out in the wild.
Can you just shut the door?
No,
Like the
the door
Black-Eyed Kids
doesn't
or
do
something,
anything.
you just like shut the door.
The door doesn't do anything.
Oh, what does it do if you shut the door?
Okay, there's
Does
some...
it whip the door's eyes?
Well, no, it doesn't need to do anything once the door's closed.
Whips the little peephole, and it's just black after that point.
Once you're in your house and the door's closed, the head just has to speak a name. It has
Oh,
nothing
yeah,
to do with
that's-
whether the door's open or not.
So just don't open the door if you see someone headless through your Ring camera.
True. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see it.
That's a good thing in general. If you see someone headless at your front door, don't open it.
So there were some references, because of course there's people who have experienced the Dullahan outside.
Oh, what, the tinfoil hat people?
No. This is more like folklore.
Oh, okay.
So there are
That's
some
different
references that Irish gold can scare away a Dullahan.
Specifically Irish gold.
Specifically Irish gold, because the thought is that gold symbolizes purity and the Dullahan is a malevolent fae.
So leprechauns are immune.
So, yeah, but I don't know how you see, like, the leprechauns might also be a malevolent fae. I'm not too sure. We'll probably get to that at some point.
They're definitely Irish, but I don't know if they're a fae.
They're a fae, I know that.
Oh, they are?
They're 100% a fae, yes. But you don't really see too much of that in the writings about the gold thing, and, you know, people, it's just kind of vague, and there's not really a reason behind it. It's not a great lore as to if that's going to save your life if you're stumble across the
So
Dullahan.
it sounds just like, oh yeah, if you find a werewolf, a silver bullet would actually penetrate it and hurt it. And it just seems to be, something of some symbolic value.
Yeah,
is able to
I don't know if that's...
help you.
I don't really like that
But
part
what would it
of
do? So, the Dullahan shows up at your door. You're like, oh, you look through your Ring camera. I see, it's the Dullahan. Oh, I'm going to trick him. You run to your cupboard, grab some Irish gold, and open the door and hand him/her, and you like put it in his teeth. He opens his mouth, you shove it with Irish gold, and...
I mean, I guess that could be the case, but usually when it's the instances of the Irish gold, it's somebody who's out walking around at night.
I see.
And they happen to drop a coin or something and scare it off kind of situation. It's not... most of the stories were never, you're at home, let me go find some gold.
Hold up. You scare it by dropping a coin?
You scare it, yes. You scare it away.
Does it not like the noise of coins dropping
down? No, it's scared of the purity of the coin. This is why I don't like this part, and there's not much to back it up. So I don't really like it.
This thing was really scary until it became scared of effectively butterflies.
Which is why I don't believe this part of it. And I feel like the Dullahans are just lying to us to make us think we have the upper hand.
Granted, otherwise, this thing really was a devastating, malevolent force. And it kind of needed some sort of narrative weakness.
I think that was really it, and it's barely ever mentioned in some things, so...
Okay.
I think they were just trying to give the humans a fighting chance in most of these cases. So we cannot just talk about the Dullahan without talking about banshees.
Hold on. I just had the idea of you trying to negotiate with a Dullahan to recruit it to your side, and it asks, I want 400 maca, and you ka-chink, and it runs away.
Well, is that Irish gold, or is that yen?
Good point. Yeah, it'd be yen. Is it scared of yen?
No.
Oh, no. Yeah, you're fine. Would it accept the yen?
I don't know.
It can only speak a name, though. And it can
You're really hung up on this gold thing.
Well, if it can only say a name, how does it negotiate with you?
I was even debating about not putting this gold thing in the script. Like, that's how little it is. That is how little of a chance that it has anything to do with this lore. Like, it's so minute.
Well, I am glad you put it in there because it's weird. Same for the spinal cord thing.
So, I'm going back to what I was trying to say. I say, we cannot talk about Dullahans and not talk about banshees.
Why is that?
So... I can't get too much into the Banshees folklore because I assume we're going to talk about it. It's also an S&T demon.
Yeah, it is a demon.
So they're very well linked to Dullahans as well. So Banshees can warn their families of an impending Dullahan. So if a Dullahan is coming for them, they can leave like the gold out on their porch or take measures to get away from them. Do you want me to go more into what a banshee is?
Wait a minute, so the gold doesn't even have to make a sound? It could just sit on the porch and be scary?
Yeah, it's part of...
The purity.
Purity, yeah.
Okay.
It's like putting a cross on your door, okay?
A talisman or what? Okay. Never mind. I'm sorry, I still find it funny.
Do you need me to tell you more about the banshee?
Kind of, because you, off camera, were mentioning that certain Irish families would have a person designated as a banshee, and my family is almost... all Irish. In fact, we've done
too much Irish.
Yeah, too much Irish. Like, it's scary. My brother did an ancestry test to find that basically everybody came from Cork, Ireland, which is like one very particular place. And I'm kind of scared that I might be an incest child from who knows how many generations down. That's all I thought when I saw that.
Do you work it back out after a while?
Do you unincest yourself? I don't know. Look at any modern kings and queens because that's effectively what they are.
Okay.
Yeah, so anyway.
So yeah, he was kind of describing the gist of the banshee. It's not necessarily a person from the family that eventually, when they pass away, becomes a banshee. I'd have to get a little bit more into the detail about it, but long-standing Irish families of prominence usually have a banshee that warns them of impending dooms and deaths. And
is this a spirit or is this just an old woman?
Banshee is a spirit.
Okay.
It's a fae.
Okay.
The banshee is part of the fae.
So this is pretty similar to a Dullahan then. It's just trying to say, he's coming.
He's coming, right. It kind of combats the Dullahan. So that's why I felt like I needed to mention it at least.
Because the only thing I know about banshees is screaming. And whenever I hear a screaming child, that the parent will not stop at a public place, I think, oh my god, please somebody stop this banshee because of the screaming.
But that's how they warn you. That is how they warn you. They scream. So when you hear their banshee, specifically your family's banshee screaming, you know that you're in some deep doo-doo.
Okay. I was going to ask if they have any other volume, or it's just like, death!
No, that's the one volume. That's it.
Oh, God.
Okay, so many people know the iconic look of the Dullahan now that we've gone into it. I mean...
hold on. Do some people say that the Dullahan is the Banshee? I don't want to go past this too much. Like, is Banshees older than this? And
Absolutely no. Nobody is... They're not mixed, if that's what you're wondering.
So you're just saying that they're an interrelated story.
Yes.
One precedes the other all the time.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. The Banshees are so commonplace. There's a roller coaster in our area called the Banshee. Like, it's such a common thing. But Dullahan, like, I feel like we, at the beginning, had to explain to people, oh, by the way, this is kind of the Headless Horseman.
Well, I mean, the Banshee is warning you about the floods and the tornadoes and the fires and the Dullahans and the plague.
Screaming at all hours of the day.
Whereas the Dullahan's just coming maybe nightly to come kill somebody.
Does it scream when, like, they have false alarms, like, to test it, like the tornado sirens every Wednesday at noon?
It's always right.
Oh, it's always right.
It's always right.
Oh, good. Minimize the screaming, please.
So, now that we kind of know what the Dullahan looks like, we're imagining it in our heads.
I'm trying to imagine it.
Okay, well, we're going to come up, but how do people get to this legend in the first place? So, let's look a little bit more into the origin story, because it's an old one.
Okay. What's old mean this time?
Okay, so it's said that the Dullahan might be an embodiment of an ancient Celtic god called Crom-Dove.
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 Don't look at how it's spelled. It's like, the letters aren't the same.
I know. It's
It's thought that he was a god of fertility, but once Christianity took over, he was seen as an evil god related to sacrifice.
Of course. Here come the Christians.
As per tradition.
Yeah, happens to everybody.
So, that brings us to our pop quiz time.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
You're like, I know nothing about what was just said.
I know a little bit about Christians ruining things. Can I send my question?
Crom-Dove is said to be an ancient Irish god. He traveled a long way to get there, though. Where did Crom-Dove originate?
Oh, boy.
A,
Russell Stover?
Australia. B, Greece.
Okay.
Or C, Africa.
You said a long way, so I'm going to say it is definitely not Greece, and I am going to go with Africa.
You're correct.
Yeah!
Crom-Dove is from Africa.
How does that work? I was going to say Australia doesn't make sense because that's a little too much distance for people to be traveling on foot. All those Christians need to be walking on water in order to figure that one out.
So Crom-Dove came from Africa. From the original people who traveled to Ireland were from Africa. So they brought over that religion and pagan beliefs and other things like that at the time.
Now that you mention it, it does kind of sound like an African tribe's thing. This deity thing that is going to come to your door. Does it have a similar story?
Okay, yeah. So let's get into that too much before you get them too conflated with each other.
Well, I'm thinking of a thing that comes to your door and announces the death of a person like that.
Right, sure, but that's not what that god did. That was a god of fertility then.
Oh, that's the opposite.
So Crom-Dove was a god of fertility, so keep that in mind.
He came to your door and said, "Your daughter is sleeping with the guy next door."
So, the reason it's said it might be an origin for the Dullahan is there's a story of a king who worshipped Crom-Dove. Every year he would make a sacrifice to the god via decapitation.
Oh, that's not very fertile. Well, that's the opposite of gaining people.
To promote fertility, which
promotes fertility.
Which wasn't just about having babies. It was about having good crops, too.
Right.
It's not just the people side of
it. I know fertility means a lot of things, but old fertility totems and idols are usually visualizing people.
Female.
Yeah, female people. Pregnant women.
Crom-Dove was also said to come up from the underworld with wheat and carrying a scythe.
Okay.
He was handsome with dark skin. So this is also a male god deity, which also brings me to why I think
the dark one or something like that. I made that comment earlier, saying like you said he was like the dark one or something like that. I said like, oh, but be careful, it might be like a racial thing, but it might actually have been.
It is.
Yeah, it was. Wow, and I got the quiz question right. Shabam!
So of course, just as Christianity always does, it demonized the god and banned his worship.
So banned his worship. And then, did they twist it into a story about?
Yeah, so they like demonized it. I can't find anything that specifically said that they twisted it into a story about
that's gonna be really hard to find.
But it's kind of like the story originated like now this god's not being worshipped, and so it's taken on this other form situation. But that's where we think it could have originated from.
About what time period was that? Because if this is pre-Christian Ireland, pre-Catholic Christian, then this is like before the Romans.
1600 BCE.
Oh, so that was Africa?
Ah.
Wait, no, BCE. Never mind. I'm throwing things completely off.
I think this is our oldest one. Cerberus. Was Cerberus around the same time, actually?
I don't remember Cerberus's time.
I don't know either. Cerberus has always been here.
He's a forever demon. You should go get him down at the Build-A-Bear workshop. They have a brand new Cerberus.
Do you want to state, I feel like
I'm lying.
There was nothing specifically that said, yes, this is absolutely the origin of where the Dullahan comes from.
Well, unfortunately, it's from a bunch of countries that kind of got taken over by other countries, and a lot of times that destroys their lore and their culture. So I'm surprised that this managed to go through two of the most squashed on countries in the world.
Yeah.
For their cultures.
Africa, and then the Celts, and then the Irish, and...
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that it survived and somehow turned into a headless horseman, even though it's supposed to be this fertility god of Africa.
Right. Yeah, it's really weird. But it's just kind of like that might be the possible origin. So there... Unfortunately, these are things that go back so far. They're like, we don't even know the name of the king that supposedly worshipped this god.
My timeline was correct then in assuming that this started in Africa on foot in oral tradition, worked its way up to the Irish area,
where
and
the
existed there.
African settlers came to Ireland.
And existed there before it was taken over by the Romans, and Julius Caesar comes in and says, all you pagans need to start worshiping God in the Catholic righteous way, and everything needs to be shifted. And then from there, they still hang on to it up there, and it turns into a new thing.
Yeah, it just becomes demonized now, because it was like treated as this god of sacrifices, and like you have to shed blood to appease this old god.
To be fair, it's not too hard to explain how that could be seen as an evil thing. You're like, well, we've got to make sure we have crops next year. Who's getting their head chopped off? That was the original lottery, wasn't it? About like appeasing.
Right. You were happy to do it,
yeah,
but I think that was more of like an Aztec Mayan thing where you were excited to be sacrificed.
Right. It was a matter of like who would it be sacrificed, and they would actually have some sort of a lottery. I believe that's what the lottery originated from.
I think so. Yeah. So how about we get more to a little bit more modern day of when the term Dullahan first came about. So, like, I'm mentioning this Crom Dove, but it's not really mentioning Dullahan. It's just an idea of where Dullahan might have come from. The first mention of Dullahan by name was in 1802 in literature. So if you're counting that, it's pretty new.
That is really new.
Which is what I wrote on here, making it our newest demon origin. If that's the first mention of the name, and you're not counting the 1600 BCE.
Yeah.
So...
Well, it's Dullahan in the game, so Dullahan, sure.
So 1802.
All right.
The book that was written / published in 1802 didn't go into much description of the creature, though it was later fully expanded upon in Crofton Croker's Fairy Legends and Traditions of South Ireland, written in 1825.
Okay, so this wasn't like a Frankenstein situation where it was like a fictional book created in the same time period. This was just an account of what was out there, supposedly.
Yeah. It wasn't like we're writing, but so... He writes about these traditions, but he also writes short stories in here. So I think this is more where...
Personal accounts?
Not from my understanding. From what I believe, they were presented as fictional short stories.
Oh, that's fun.
There are a few stories that Croker writes about the Dullahan. One story is called The Good Woman. It's a story where a drunk man encounters a female Dullahan and is transported to a party with other Dullahans that are playing with their heads. He's eventually returned back home. So this also leans towards the phantom hitchhiker phenomenon, if anybody has heard about that, because he's like transporting this ghostly apparition somewhere. Like, the Dullahan is described in this short story as more ghostly, light on its feet, not touching the ground. And then it's a fae, so it's gonna spirit you away to go play with other fae for a little bit.
Yeah, and figure out what kind of drinking games they can play in the basement on a ping pong table with their own heads.
Right, well, and the whole time they're playing with their heads and they're describing, like...
Like children, because Faye could be thinking like that? Or is it just like they're seriously having drinking games and you're like, put all the heads in one jar and you go home with that head?
Yeah, it's that one. There was actually some artwork from the book of the Dullahans are like, I apologize, I forget what it's called over in Ireland and Scotland and things, where it's this pole that you're walking around with ribbons. But it's like a game you play where you walk around and you wrap the pole with the ribbons and the Dullahans are like playing with their heads.
Tetherball.
Sure. Yeah, that's it.
I played that
I
one.
apologize. I'm a dumb white American. Leave me alone.
I'm not sorry.
In another story called The Headless Horseman,
I've heard of that.
A man encounters a Dullahan while riding and challenges him to a horse race. The man wins the race, and the Dullahan grants him supernatural powers to use in future horse races.
That can come in handy at least once.
I don't know why when I was reading this story, I kind of wished it was like a side quest in The Witcher.
That's the first thing I thought too.
Oh my gosh!
That sounds like a video. I was like, it sounds like a video game
sounds
where
like a Witcher 3
Yeah, it sounds
thing.
like I barely do horse racing, but I guess next time I do it, I'll have that advantage. And it's like, well, what kind of superpower is it? Like, your horse will never slip.
No idea.
It will never get tired.
There were a lot of other stories. I feel like
Your Ocarina of Time Epona will never run out of carrots.
I feel like he wrote a lot of other stories in there too. They were just so long, and I did want to read one verbatim, but they were just too long for me to read.
That's okay.
I'm sure we're going in very long. So there are a lot of stories written about the Dullahan, and as we know, there are several inspired by the Dullahan, right?
Yeah, Sleepy Hollow?
So yeah, we're going to talk about Sleepy Hollow a little bit.
Okay.
Because the times get real confusing with that.
Oh, good.
I personally found the Dullahan stories to be a little bit elusive because there's so many different ones and they're described so many different ways, and I couldn't find a definitive story of fictional works or historical accounts, question mark.
It seems to have just rapidly turned into a fictional thing very quickly in the 1800s.
Right. So, of course, like you said, we can't end the story without talking more in depth about the legend of Sleepy Hollow, written in 1820.
So that's pretty soon after the first Dullahan story,
The first
correct?
Dullahan story is in 1802.
Yeah, that's relatively...
The second book I was just talking about with the side stories is 1825.
Oh, okay.
So
this is before then.
Correct. The Headless Horseman in the story is not a Dullahan, but a soldier who has lost their head in a war. It was definitely inspired by the stories written from the 1802, but you could also say that Sleepy Hollow inspired Croker's writings in 1825.
Right. I was trying to piece the timeline together.
Right, because
in my head.
Sleepy Hollow is written, I think,
3 years before or something.
5 years before
5.
in Britain, I think.
Okay.
London, something. And so all these writings kind of came out at the same time. So you can almost consider those times, that's just when the Dullahan came about for these fictional stories, is like the early 1800s.
The early creepypasta. They were all just talking about the exact same thing.
I mean, if you're not counting it as the 1600 BCE as its origin time.
Well, there's origins for creepypastas that go way back and it's based on something and they just reinterpret it as something else. And that's just kind of how it goes.
Well, now I think, I don't know if specifically because of Sleepy Hollow now we see the Headless Horseman trope shows up all over in pop culture. Mm-hmm. You know, there's literature.
This might be the most prominent of all of them we've done so far, and we just passed Cerberus.
It shows up all the time. And it has so many descriptions of the demon, and that there isn't a defined set of traits for it. I feel like as long as you are headless and carrying your head, you count as a Dullahan.
Yeah, the devil children art that we showed before, or we talked about, was
Dullahan.
absolutely, yeah, like that counts. You just have to not have a head.
So, with that being said, Dullahans do show up in games like the usual culprits, like Final Fantasy and Castlevania. Mm-hmm. And supposedly there's one in Dark Souls too.
Vengarl.
Yeah, I asked you about this the other night.
Bernhard or Vengar? What's that guy's name?
I think it's Vengarl.
Vengarl? Yeah,
Vengarl?
so I wouldn't call him
he's just like
Dullahan.
a headless dude.
He's a headless guy. So, well, okay, so if you're going like the Sleepy Hollow, you said it was a knight who was decapitated and just like stayed alive and he was a spirit.
Right, but that's not like how a Dullahan is created, but I couldn't figure out how a Dullahan is created,
well,
so
sure,
why not?
Sure, but Vengarl is definitely one of those. He's just a knight who got decapitated, and he's, because of the undead curse in Dark Souls, he's still alive, and so is his head. So poor guy is just kind of sitting there.
So that's really about the extent of what I found. What do you think after hearing the lore?
I still think it's really cool. I'm pretty sure at one point I remember reading Sleepy Hollow, but it's been so long that it's just absolutely not fresh in my mind, and I could read it for the first time for a second time now. Yeah,
I was just getting real mixed up with all of those dates, and I wasn't too sure which actually came first, or if one actually influenced the other, or some local phenomenon is happening that people are reporting on in two separate areas, or inspired by.
I don't know. That was a long time jump for them to travel with the story up there. That sounds very believable. I think we've figured that part out, but it's a sudden explosion in the lore culture seems to have happened when people could print books and tell stories that way, and then start spread. The fantastical stuff is going to sell a heck of a lot faster than your basic textbook.
Right. So the early 1800s.
Exactly. I can kind of see why that kind of thing would spread really quickly, and I'm kind of glad. I like the Headless Horseman.
And I forgot to mention this before because we were talking about Celti at the beginning of the episode, but there was some mention if you have the Dullahan's head, you control the Dullahan.
Yeah, that was a part of the anime. So is that like a thing?
Yeah, so that is a thing in some of the culture, but I didn't read too much about that in the lore, so I didn't really want to bring it up.
It's about as prominent as the coin thing that I really got hung up on.
You got so hung up on that.
That's the thing, like about the head. So if you saw this, so the
Do you want the moldy cheese head?
Well, no, I would try and shoot an arrow at it instead. That's what I'm saying. But if you tried that, is it an apparition kind of fae, or is it physically there?
It was described as both. So I'm not too sure.
If a banshee foretells it, then, I would assume apparition, and I would shoot right through it.
I feel like it's like an apparition situation.
The horse kind of runs on the air, and like Santa Claus's reindeer.
Yeah, like the Wild Hunt.
Yeah, okay. My analogies are always the worst possible thought.
I'm just saying the Wild Hunt is also related to Santa. And I hope we get into that story at some point.
Wonderful. The Wild Hunt is a demon in Shin Megami Tensei.
Okay, now I get to talk about why Wild Hunt and Santa are related.
But I don't think we got a Krampus.
Yeah, I know. I'm really disappointed about that. Also related to Santa. You know what Christianity did to Krampus, too? Do we need to get it? Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah, we might just need like some sort of Christmas episode. Though we're doing the alphabetical thing, and for the most part, we want to keep everything consistent.
What other Christmas things would there be in SMT?
I'll see who we land on, and we'll turn it into a Christmas theme.
It's just
going to
be Jack
fine.
Frost.
Well, no, we're passing Jay. So when we actually come up on Halloween, for instance, I want to make sure that we let you guys know. We do have a Halloween-ish demon planned alphabetically. However, it's going to be the week after Halloween. The week before, we kind of were stuck with who we got. So
here's what I got. We are in spooky season right now.
So, Dullahan.
Dullahan, Headless Horseman, is very on the course, on par for Halloween.
Oh, yeah. That's a Halloween demon.
It's very Halloween demon.
Yeah, so we're already...
We're good. We're covered.
All right, good. So you got a bonus Halloween episode coming after Halloween has...
Oh, next week sounds pretty Halloween-y, too.
That's true, yeah. We have a lot of Halloween... We're talking about demons. We have lots of Halloween-y...
We're not talking about an angel demon.
No, but there's still going to be one coming up that's definitely not very Halloweener. But it's
and that's the one on Halloween.
Yeah,
so.
It's Halloweenish. But Still. Anyway, be sure to tune into the next episode where we will summon a new demon that begins with the letter E. Let us know what your favorite demon is that begins with E and what you thought of this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Unless you have something to say about that audio problem, in which case, I am sorry. Please. You can find me online at HamsterBomb on YouTube, where I host a long list of Let's Plays, reviews, and live streams. Thank you all so much for listening. Take care not to let the demons possess you while you sleep, or say your name at your front door. And we will see you all in the next episode.
I think he wants you to write in about his bad audio.
No!
Bye-bye!
Bye!